Hello, everyone, and welcome back. Today, we are going to explore 5 simple steps that can help your brain become more creative over time. If you enjoy calm and meaningful English stories, stay with me until the end. Why does the brain feel empty sometimes? Every day, many people want better ideas. They want to write something interesting, solve a problem in a new way, create content, or simply think more clearly. But when the moment comes, the mind often feels empty. A person sits down, looks at the page, the screen, or the task, and suddenly nothing comes. The brain feels slow, tired, or blocked. This can be frustrating because the wish to create is there, but the ideas are not. Some people start to think they are not creative enough. They tell themselves that creativity belongs only to artists, writers, or naturally talented people. If their mind feels blank too often, they begin to believe that maybe they just do not have, the creative brain that other people seem to have. But that is not always true. A brain that feels empty is not always a weak brain. Sometimes it is simply a tired brain. Sometimes it is overloaded, distracted, or underfed. It may be full of noise, stress, or repeated habits that do not help new ideas grow. Creativity does not always disappear because a person lacks talent. Often, it becomes quiet because the mind does not have the right conditions to think freely. That is why this question matters. How do we help the brain become more creative? How do we move from mental emptiness to fresh thinking? And what daily habits can slowly make the mind more open, curious, and alive? In this video, we are going to explore 5 simple steps that can help. They are not magical tricks, and they do not promise instant genius. But over time, they can help your brain think in a richer, freer, and more creative way. Step 1. Feed your brain better input. A more creative brain usually begins with better input. The mind cannot create much from emptiness. It needs material to work with. Ideas often grow from what we read, watch, hear, notice, and experience. If a person gives their brain the same shallow input every day, then the output may also become shallow. But when the mind receives richer material, it has more pieces to connect in new ways. This is why input matters so much. A good book, a thoughtful conversation, a beautiful film, a piece of music, a new place, or even one surprising question can wake the brain up. These things give the mind fresh shapes, emotions, images, and patterns. Later, the brain may mix them together and create something new. That is often how creativity works. It rarely appears from nothing. It grows from what the mind has quietly collected over time. Of course, not all input is equally helpful. If a person spends too much time only scrolling quickly, watching short, shallow content, or repeating the same small circle of ideas, their mind may stop stretching. It becomes busy, but not deeply fed. A creative brain needs more than stimulation. It needs nourishment. That does not mean you must read difficult books all day or study constantly. It simply means giving your mind something meaningful to grow from. The richer the input, the richer the possible ideas later. So the first step is simple. Feed your brain better things. If you want better thoughts, better questions, and better creativity, start by changing what enters your mind every day. Step 2. Give your mind quiet time. A creative brain also needs quiet time. This is important because new ideas do not always appear when the mind is full of noise. When a person is always busy, always scrolling, always listening, and always reacting, the brain has very little space to connect thoughts in a deeper way. It may feel active, but it is not always creative. Quiet time gives the mind room to breathe. It allows thoughts to slow down and settle. In that slower space, ideas often begin to connect on their own. A question from the morning may meet a memory from last week. A small problem may suddenly find a fresh answer. This is why people sometimes get ideas while walking, showering, resting, or simply sitting in silence. The mind keeps working when the pressure becomes softer. Many people make one mistake here. They think they must force creativity. They stare at the page, push the brain harder, and become frustrated when nothing comes. But creativity often does not like too much pressure. It grows better when the brain feels open, calm, and free enough to wander a little. This is why quiet is not empty. It is often the space where ideas begin to form. A quiet walk, a few minutes without the phone, or time alone with your thoughts can help much more than people expect. Silence helps the brain notice what noise often hides. So the second step is to protect quiet time. Not because doing nothing is the goal, but because the mind needs stillness to build something new. A more creative brain is not only fed by good input, it is also shaped by the moments when that input has time to become something original. Step 3. Stay curious about small things. Another important step is curiosity. A more creative brain is often a more curious brain. Creativity does not always begin with a big idea. Very often, it begins with a small question. Why does this work this way? What would happen if I tried it differently? Why does this feeling matter? What am I missing here? Curious people notice more because they do not move through life too quickly. They pause, look again, and ask simple questions about ordinary things. They may look at the same object, problem, or moment as everyone else, but they stay with it a little longer. That extra attention often opens the door to fresh thinking. This is why curiosity matters more than people realize. It keeps the brain awake. It makes the mind flexible. Instead of only accepting things as they are, a curious person keeps exploring. That exploration gives creativity more space to grow. A person does not need to be a genius to do this. They only need to stay interested. Curiosity can live in very small moments. It can be in the way you listen to a story, notice a color, observe a habit, or ask why something makes people feel a certain way. These small acts may not look creative at first, but they are feeding the brain in a deeper way. They teach the mind to look beyond the surface. So the third step is simple. Stay curious about small things. A more creative brain often grows from simple attention, simple questions, and the habit of looking at normal life with fresh eyes. Sometimes new ideas do not come because the world lacks beauty or meaning. They come because someone cared enough to notice it. Step 4. Let yourself make bad ideas. Many people become less creative because they are too afraid of bad ideas. They want the first idea to be smart, original, or impressive. Because of that, they judge themselves too early. The moment something imperfect appears, they reject it. But this habit can block creativity before it even has time to grow. A creative brain needs freedom before it can create quality. In the beginning, not every idea will be strong. Some ideas will be weak, strange, simple, or incomplete. That is normal. In fact, many good ideas begin as bad ones. They start rough, unclear, and imperfect, then slowly become better through time and shaping. This is why perfection can be such a problem. It makes the mind tight. It turns creativity into fear. Instead of exploring, the person starts protecting themselves from mistakes. They become careful too soon, and that care cuts off the natural flow of thought. But when a person allows themselves to think freely, something changes. The brain relaxes. It stops trying to look clever in every moment. It starts playing, testing, and discovering. That is often where creativity becomes alive again. So the fourth step is to let yourself make bad ideas. Do not ask for perfection too early. Give your brain permission to be messy at first. Write the weak sentence. Draw the rough image. Say the unfinished thought. One imperfect idea can lead to a better one, and that better one can lead to something truly strong. A more creative brain grows when it is allowed to explore without fear all the time. Creativity becomes stronger not when every idea is good, but when the mind feels safe enough to keep going until something good appears. Step 5. Use creativity often. The fifth step is simple, but very important. Use creativity often. A creative brain becomes stronger through practice. Just like the body gets stronger through movement, the mind becomes more creative through regular use. If a person only waits for inspiration, they may wait a long time. But if they keep creating, even in small ways, the brain learns to work more freely. This does not mean you need to make something big every day. Small creative actions are enough. You can write a few lines, draw a quick sketch, ask a new question, solve a problem differently, or think of another way to explain an idea. These small actions train the brain to look beyond the obvious and build new paths of thought. At first, the practice may not feel exciting. Some days the ideas will come slowly. Some days the result will feel ordinary, but that is part of the process. Creativity grows through repetition, not only through special moments. The more often the brain is invited to imagine, connect, and explore, the easier that becomes over time. This is why daily use matters more than rare effort. A person who creates a little every day often grows faster than a person who waits for the perfect mood. The brain learns from rhythm. It learns from returning again and again, even when the result is not amazing yet. So the final step is to use creativity often. Do not only admire creative people, train your own mind by using it. A more creative brain is not built by waiting for magic. It is built by small practice, repeated many times, until fresh thinking becomes a natural part of the way you live. A more creative brain is not something a person is simply born with or without. In many cases, it is something that grows over time through the way a person lives, notices, rests, explores, and practices. That is good news because it means creativity is not only for a special few. It can become stronger in anyone who gives the mind better conditions to grow. These 5 steps are simple, but they matter. Feed your brain better input. Give your mind quiet time. Stay curious about small things. Let yourself make bad ideas. Use creativity often. None of these steps will change everything in one day, but together, they can slowly open the mind in a powerful way. They help the brain become less blocked, less afraid, and more ready to create. This is important because many people think they have lost their creativity, when in truth, it may only be waiting for space, practice, and better habits. The mind is often more alive than it first appears. Sometimes it does not need more pressure. It needs more nourishment, more quiet, and more freedom to think imperfectly. So if your brain has felt empty, do not be too hard on yourself. A blank moment does not mean you are not creative. It may only mean your mind needs a different rhythm. Creativity is not always loud, and it does not always arrive quickly. but if you care for it patiently, it can return and grow. A more creative brain is built step by step. And sometimes the next idea you need is not far away. It may simply be waiting for the right kind of attention.